Hello. Reese from the Point Music Podcast thingy. Back at it with another podcast this time around. Got some pretty epic chats with Jack from Wolf and Chain, some good old emo chats from Adelaide, and yeah, really enjoyed this one. We started sidetracking a little bit towards the end there, so I hope you don't mind. We start nerding out on common preferences in comic books, I think. Yeah. I haven't done this in a while, but if you haven't subscribed or liked this podcast and you dig what I come up with all the time, please do. It does make a difference and does help, and you'll be alerted whenever there's a new one that goes live. With that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, people of all sorts, this is Jack from Wolf and Chain. And here we go, Jack from Wolf and Chain. How are we, man?
I am good. How are you doing?
You know what? I actually just got back from the gym, literally 10 minutes ago, and I was like, shit, quickly setting up all this stuff here that you see here, quick sound check, everything
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Okay, so
Hell yeah.
when I go, I usually do a gym session before I do a podcast, and there's a reason for that. It's so I can actually listen to the artists I'm interviewing without interruption. So I'm just basically just on the treadmill or just doing a workout, and I can take in whatever I need to take in. Now, we'll get to the current single in a second, but I kind of want to go back a little bit to a couple of EPs that you listen to, because they come up, I just put Spotify on random. And what I've noticed about, compared to the new stuff, the older stuff is a bit heavier, but if we're going to go, because you're in the press release, there's references to MCR, so My Chemical Romance, and a bit of 30 Seconds to Mars, and I know then in my review of your current song, I actually gave reference to Taking Back Sunday as well. The older
Yes.
stuff, there's a lot of the used coming right through there, like the darker, heavier sort of side of the used. Would I be wrong with that?
No, not at all. That's totally right. I mean, that's all the stuff that we grew up on. And I think The Used and Taking Back Sunday was a big one. And obviously My Chem, in common with all of the guys in the band.
Mm.
So yeah, no, that is definitely a big influence, particularly like you said on the earlier stuff, I think where we were really trying to find our feet. And, I mean, we're always still trying to do that. I think every band's always trying to, progress, push themselves forward in some way. But yeah, I think it definitely is more obvious, some of those influences in that earlier stuff.
Yeah, you definitely got your Burt McCracken on some of that stuff there, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay, we're going to be talking about Not Giving Up, which is the current single, and is a kick-ass one, by the way. What I
Oh,
actually,
thank you.
I don't know if you know this band at all. Do you know the band The Matches?
Oh my God, yeah. That's crazy. We love the matches.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Seriously, they're so sick, so underrated. Yeah.
Very underrated. They've actually, they did do you know they dropped a single? It was like a celebration kind of single kind of thing. Celebrating,
Oh, no way.
I think 10 years or 15 years of that album they had, Yvonne Dahl, whatever it was. They had Paper Cut
Yeah,
Skin on it. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did you ever see the Matches live?
No, I never got to. So I mean, I grew up in Hong Kong, so
Mhm.
there was very few shows, let alone
Yeah.
that level of band.
Mm.
It was either Linkin Park or
Yep.
Katy Perry. You know what I mean? So yeah, nah, nothing like that. I would have loved to though, but we ended up playing Enigma Bar, which is a venue that's now closed down
Mm.
here in Adelaide. But the matches, when we were in the green room, we could see all the signatures, and I saw the matches there, '07 or what something
Yep.
year it was, and I was so stoked that happened.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they played Soundwave, and that's where I saw them. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure that was the case. Yeah, there's a couple bands I keep on getting merged in my memory, because I mean, it's that long ago, and I went to nearly every Soundwave, and
yeah.
MSI and the Matches, for some reason they played the same stage, and I keep on crossing them over. Mindless Self
They
Indulgence
they
was
have
over there.
similar vibes.
Uh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Mindless Self Indulgence are a little bit more intense in the wackiness of the side of the thing. I think the Matches
yeah,
a little bit more reserved compared to MSI
definitely.
anyway. Um,
Yeah.
so am I right in saying that you guys are going through a slight progression in your sound with this Not Giving Up, and going away from the sort of the darker, the used sort of stuff, and you're bringing in sort of this sort of lighter side doing this?
Um, Well, like to a degree, I think the idea that like what we want to do with the project is like really push it in both directions so
Mm.
that it's like turning it up to, 11 on both ends. So like we do like refine our like pop sensibility and sort of like how we want to write songs and how we want to get like our point across. But there's also still like I think Wolf and Chain is always going to be a relatively dark band, and
Mm.
like we're all like into really heavy guitar driven music. So I think that's always going to be there. And I think the idea is like figuring out how best to like bring those two elements together in our own unique way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if I could give any hint towards the future, I guess it would just be expect something like really different, but I think people will still vibe
Cool.
it.
Because I've had your stuff sent through to me quite a few times, and I have added you guys to like the front of New Music Dump or the playlists and that, because I actually I noticed that we are getting like a new wave of emo, but it's only just sort of like coming through at the moment. And I know like Scar's doing the same thing at the moment too, which is really fucking cool because I think Scar's going to be on its fifth fucking wave, so that means emo should be on its fourth or fifth wave too. Um,
Yeah.
I only off the top of my head can only think of one other band that's doing as well as what you are doing. That would be Clay J Gladstone from Sydney, and they're sort of
Yeah, those guys are incredible.
but they're a little bit like darker than what you are in the sense of like their lyrical content is really political in some degree. I don't know if you take that sort of aspect, do you?
Yeah, well, like in our music, like political, I don't think we do as much. I think that's again like being an early band and like us being relatively young and stuff when we got together. I don't think it was something as much on our radar until like we started fleshing out, I guess, more themes that we want to write about. And like I think that's something open in the future. And I definitely see the band being able to say anything that we want in terms of, if it's something political, we are allowed to do it. It's not
Mm.
like we only write heartbreak songs and that's it. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I definitely can see that in the band's like future. But yeah, I definitely think Clay J and those guys, they have that raw emotion and there's so much angst that like, especially with those politically driven songs or like you mentioned, I
Mm.
think they just do it so well.
Is there anything happening like similar to you guys in the Adelaide scene at the moment?
um, Sorry, in terms of like political stuff
No,
happening in the
no,
Adelaide
just
scene.
just the sort of the new wave of emo and that
Oh
yeah.
yeah, there's definitely more like, so it's like I see definitely more kids and like young people who are into that stuff coming out to shows, which is really cool to see. Like I've like definitely when we first started
Mm.
and we were playing like little pub gigs, like none, but like I've definitely seen an alternative scene, and that definitely brew in Adelaide. There's also sick Adelaide emo bands. Adelaide's got like, like Raccoon City and stuff. I mean, there's a bunch that go. I mean, even you could claim Teenage Jones as
Oh yeah,
emo. Um,
yeah, fair.
there's yeah. So look, there is quite a scene for it, especially if you broaden it to like alternative music, and you can
Mm.
kind of there's definitely I think that's how Adelaide's done it. Just because it is quite a small place, I think it's like having a niche as specific as emo is hard to do.
Yeah.
Um, but if you can chuck yourself in this alternative bracket, I think that works much better in that sort of
And
like state.
casting a wider net, yeah, because there is so many subgenres that spur off like from emo as well. So it's hard to sort of
Yeah,
just
and
like
I mean, oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I mean, like, and that's the thing, right? And like every band's got their unique sort of bits and pieces with that. So like
mm,
you can kind of put a mishmash of a lineup together and it still kind of works because like with MSI and the matches, like you're like, oh, they're quite different, but they're both wacky. You know
mm.
what I mean? So yeah, it kind of yeah works like that.
So how is the Adelaide scene going like in general? Because man, it's been a long time since I think I was the last time I was in Adelaide. I played a gig. Yeah, 2011. It's like
Yeah.
13 years ago. I played the one of the festivals that was going on. Can't even remember the name of the bloody festival. It's kind of like a showcasing thing. I don't know. I don't know if they still do
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they do have things like that around. They're usually attached to like a larger festival, like I'm not sure, like
Yeah.
Laneway or like Spin Off or something like that.
Yeah. But the actual
But
scene itself, like the gigging scene there, is it fairly healthy now?
yeah, I mean, like, look,
Hmm.
I think it's got thriving like punters and bands and like lots of artists, and people are really keen to support Adelaide,
Yeah.
but it's had a bit of a hard time keeping venues alive. Like I mentioned earlier, we lost one called Enigma, which
Yep.
was like really good for like hardcore and metal and just like anything sort of heavy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a bit of a loss. And also now there's the threat of like the Cranker leaving, which is like a institution in Adelaide. Like everyone
Yep.
plays their first gig there, and like I'm sure you've probably maybe even heard of it.
Yep.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so it's a bit rough.
The reason why I'm asking is because there's similar things happening here. And
Yes,
I mean, we're losing the zoo, which is basically an institution has been running for 3 decades, and
yeah,
Stranded Bar, which is attached to that. We lost two other bars, King Lear's Throne, earlier this year or late last year, I think it was.
yeah, right.
And the attached bar to that, Bad Luck Bar. And I mean, we lost
Yeah,
11 Dive Bar last year on the Sunshine Coast, which was kind of like an alternative bar. And Sydney's had their fair share. Melbourne's definitely had their fucking fair share. So I'm
yeah,
trying to be optimistic about this whole situation. And I've been in the
yeah.
industry for 3 decades, and it all goes in cycles. It does,
Mm.
but it's very hard to stay positive when you're seeing this kind of shit happen all the time.
Yeah, and it's crazy hearing about it in other states as well. Because like when you hear about it in Adelaide, everyone kind of rags on Adelaide anyway, and they're like, like
Yeah.
it's Adelaide, shit shuts down all the time because we don't have people, and like, but like when you hear it happening about in Brisbane and shit, you're just like, wait, what the fuck? You're like that, why? Like
Yeah.
that shouldn't be happening. And like I guess it all comes down to, I guess, like not enough government support for the arts and sort of protecting venues and spaces like that. But yeah, I mean, that's yeah, big issue.
Well, yeah. I mean, I had a very similar sort of chat with like Paddy from the Dregs talking about the whole festival situation, and like that was because they were supposed to play Splendor in the Grass, and happened around all that time when Splendor saying goodbye, and then Groove in the Moo said goodbye, and there's all these other festivals. I mean, Clowndy Music Festival up here is not going ahead. But the heavier sort of side of things and the more niche festivals, they seem to be doing okay. I mean, we might get a resurgence of like, I mean, we have Download Festival and was it Not Fest? Both did it right. We'll have good things at the end of the year. I mean,
Yeah, well, that's the ideal scenario, right? Everyone wanted that. Like as soon as Soundwave was cut, I think everyone felt that, and like I think everyone's been like, oh, when are we gonna get that like consistent thing happening again? And so, look, ideally that it's great because those festivals bring over international artists. They give opportunities to young and up and coming bands here.
mhm.
Yeah, we can only hope that that's yeah the direction.
Have you any played in those festivals?
Um, no, I don't know. We've never played any of them. I like it's funny. We all went to I think it was Good Things. Yeah, it was Good Things in Melbourne. We all went together like I think maybe a couple years like when we just started the band. I think we hadn't even put out maybe our first EP or something.
Yeah.
So like we were like, oh man, this will be so cool when we can play one of these one day. And we're just like, sure hope they're still around when we're able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, like the Soundwave used to be my thing once a year just to go and immerse myself in the heavy culture and see, just
Mm,
basically see of black shirts, okay, and just
yeah,
everyone just being cool and chill, and you have the mosh pit, that's cool, but people just go, yeah, you respect you, there's no bullshit, and I do miss it,
yeah,
and I mean,
yeah.
I haven't been to Good Things, so I should pull my finger out and actually get to one of these at one day.
Well, yeah, look, to me, it felt very similar sort of vibes. And like, I only ever went to one Soundwave when I was like, I think I was literally like 13 or 14. And I went with my dad and my younger sibling, who was like, I think even younger, like 11 at the time. So like, I remember like walking around and people were like, yo, what the fuck? There's kids here. And so like, that's my memory.
Get them up in the crowd, man. Crowd surf the kids.
Yeah.
It'd be
Woo!
nice and light, easy to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just flying. It's just like a beach ball.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You've got another EP in the works. Is that right?
So we're working on our like our debut album. So
Ooh.
yeah, it's yeah. I think it's I know it's like what yeah, like you said, it's one of those things because it's like a big commitment and it is a
Mm-hmm.
lot of time and money and
Yep.
but I think it's something that we've always wanted to do and I think that it makes sense for this band and like the direction that we want to go in musically and sort of storytelling wise. I
Mm-hmm.
think it all makes sense. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, we've heard success stories from other bands as well about like, yeah, we got our album together, made it really sick, and then it blew up, and we're like, cool, maybe us too. But I think that's the idea is just that we're just keeping our heads down, and we really want to focus on making something really just like a really good piece of art. I
Yeah.
guess is the main goal.
Coming
Yeah.
in as someone that's released, been in bands that have released albums, I find that they are an ego thing, and not in a bad sense.
Mm.
It's more in the sense like, holy shit, we've accomplished this and put this collection of work that is called an album out into the world. Like we always dreamt of doing that sort of stuff. Like we always thought it was out of reach with all the rock stars doing that, and we're trying
Yeah.
our best, putting out EPs and singles, but never an album because you are right, it costs a lot of money unless you're doing it DIY, which a lot of people can do, which is fine. Um,
Yeah.
but a full body of work that you is polished and has some kind of structure to it and telling a story, that's another thing entirely. So is that something that you'd be working on?
Yeah, and I think that is what we've been doing. We've been putting together like I think we've maybe got well, I don't give away too much, but like maybe five or six songs sort of like in the works that have been going towards this album.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's yeah, like you said, just spending the time on it is important as well. I think you know, the thing that people sort of get bogged down with is like, oh, it's taking a long time. I want to shortcut this or rah rah rah, or like, oh, like I'm getting older or whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. Like, there's a lot of things that will yeah make you want to rush. But I think at the end of the day, we're just sort of yeah really sort of like taking our time to make that thing as polished as possible. Um, I mean, obviously nothing is perfect, and there will be a cutoff at some point. But yeah, that's the idea.
Word from a veteran here: don't sit on it too long.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I actually had an album that sat there for 4 years before it was released. So yeah, don't
yeah.
do that.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, let it fester and drive you crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the band I was in at that time, we got fucked by COVID. So the whole
True.
album tour release that was supposed to happen in April of 2020, and the world shut down in the month before, and we just couldn't put anything
Yeah,
together. And we came back and basically finished it off properly and just tried to put together a sort of a release schedule, and it just never sort of congealed. Yeah, it's just the way it is. I mean, it's a great fucking album too. So, um, yeah,
yeah,
my advice is don't sit on it too long.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. You never know what can happen. Um,
Nope.
yeah.
Yeah, don't get too comfortable, and don't keep an eye out for any coming pandemics and wars.
Yeah,
Because I think is probably another
yeah.
thing.
I know, right? Well, that's the next thing I'm worried about is more likely a war now. We've had the pandemic. Now we got to move on.
Well, it gives more sort of lyrical content for you.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's about time to get political.
I want to bring it back to the single and the film clip
Yeah,
because you
cool.
guys look like you had a shit ton of fun putting it together. So for those that haven't seen the film clip, it's very inspired by The Kill, which is 30 Seconds to Mars's biggest. I'd argue it was probably their biggest song they ever had, and Donnie
Yeah.
Darko fused together, which I give massive props for that because Donnie Darko is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Like I mean, obviously there's like the whole kill thing is like this
The
shining. So you've
Shining.
got all these cool carpets and stuff in that cinema that like kind of inspired me when I was there. I think I saw a movie there a while ago and I was just like, oh, this is very creepy. So this but kind of spun out from there. But yeah, it was a good time. We yeah, we just got to use this really cool old theater called the Capri here in Adelaide, and it was just like a really cool space to be in all day, and we were able to just sort of like use all of the lighting and play around with that, and it's just such a big theatrical room, and you're like blasting the single out of the speakers. It's just yeah, it was heaps of fun. Yeah.
So what was the
But,
thought behind it, like bringing those two subjects matters together?
yeah, well, so like the song has just kind of got this like idea. It's sort of through this werewolf metaphor
Hmm.
of like sort of controlling your own demons. I guess you're just sort of wrestling with two sides, and how like you can sort of become overwhelmed with how down and miserable you feel, but then there's moments where you have clarity and you can bring yourself out of it, and you're like, oh no, like things will get better, I can get through this, and rah rah rah. So like I guess the werewolf metaphor came in there, and we're just big fans of horror movies and stuff like that, so we were like, yeah, that's kind of the vibe for the song. And I guess when we were thinking about the video and stuff, we were like, oh, what would be a cool location to film? So it kind of started from like, oh, it'd be cool to film in the cinema. And then I was like, oh, how do I like narratively get something out of this so we're not just playing in the cinema, right?
Mm.
And I was like, oh, like I can't remember, but like I think it was TikTok. I just came across a photo of like Donnie Darko sitting in the cinema with the rabbit behind him, and I just was like, oh, that's got to be it, because it's like you can have this like character that's sort of leading them to this idea of like, hey, look, there's more past this. Like you don't have to, yeah, essentially, because in the beginning of the video, it's all dark and they're riding around in the dark, and they make their way to the lights of the band and the message, I guess. So it kind of worked that you could have this Donnie Darko figure lead the way and sort of essentially tell the story of the song at the same time. And then also we got to utilize the cool space and throw a bunch of, shining Darko sort of esque references everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, you got people. You got the twin reference in there, don't you?
Oh, we got like,
People dressed.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
We got the wolf suit, and then we got like all these shots down the hallways of like the flashy thing they do with the twins. They do it in the 70s a lot with ghosts, just like cutting them away a bunch.
You just need a creepy kid on a tricycle.
That's it. Yeah, we just needed it.
Red rum. For those that don't know, Donnie Darko was a pretty fucked up science fiction movie about time travel, which you don't realize is about time travel until halfway through the movie, where you go, oh, okay. Yeah, it's a kind of movie that you need to watch at least 3 times before you just sort of start getting it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how many times I've watched it now. There's still parts of it I don't understand.
Yeah, it's a good watch. It's definitely unique. It's got such a cult following as well. I think it's kind of like Fight Club and those movies. It just like, for one reason or another, really stuck around, and people really, hung on to.
At one stage, there was actually a website attached to it, where if you went there, it actually answered a lot of the questions, like in a journal sort of mode. Like,
oh, that's cool.
It would tell you about the manipulated dead and the manipulated living. So, the rabbit, the bunny. Fuck, I can't remember.
Yeah,
it's James Duval plays him, but there's an actual name for him. He's the manipulated dead.
Oh, Frank.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's the manipulated dead, and the manipulated living is people around, and I think one of them is the old lady that she's they try and save her.
She wrote the book.
She wrote the book.
Yeah.
I think she's the part of the manipulated living. Oh no, it gets it's like a whole backstory.
Yeah, it gets
to
deep.
Yeah, very. And
Yeah.
there was supposed to be like another. I think they did make a Donnie Darko 2, but it was just shit.
Yes, they did, and it is shit. Apparently, I haven't seen it,
I refuse
but there's
to.
also a Donnie Darko. Yeah, look, honestly, it didn't seem worth my time. But there's a Donnie Darko director's cut. It's very controversial because it's like some people love it or they hate it.
Yeah.
And it's just got a bunch of extra, like, I guess, title card sequences in the movie that explain a lot more of the lore. So it's if you're into that or not.
I'd be into that.
Yeah. Oh, well, go check it out. It's out there. It's online. Yeah.
So, you just recently did the AMPM emo night tour with Tapestry as well. How was that?
Yeah, that was sick. That was awesome. I mean, like AMPM always goes off. It's a
Mm.
good time, like always a good crowd. Tapestry are awesome as well. Really cool just to see those guys again. And like, I think we played with them once before in Brisbane when we played some mini festival, but
Hmm.
it was really cool. Yeah, they were really cool just to see those guys just when you see like another band and you're just like you're kind of just like learning from them while you're
Mm.
watching them. You're like, oh, cool. These guys are just like and being able to see it like 3 or 4 times, right? It's cool because you're like, oh man, that was so cool. How is he executing that? And then every time you can kind of just be like, oh, cool. He's kind of, he's getting ready over here and he's gonna go do this. So I think it was just good for us to just be out on the road with a band that we really enjoyed, and yeah, it was a good time.
Did you end up sort of like developing relationships with the headlining band? Because sometimes they just don't want anything to do with the support act, and sometimes they do. Well, how'd you go with that?
Oh no, they were lovely guys.
Yeah.
Everyone gave us the time of day there, and everyone was super chill and cool. And I think because like it was only us two on the
Mm.
tour, and they were opening obvious like local supports as we went. But honestly, like everyone that played on those shows was really good, and like I feel like Melbourne as well was a really cool show for us. In particular, I think we had a really good time because like it's Melbourne's been hit or miss where we've been like I think they just Melbourne gets every show in the world
Yeah.
and like it's like you really have to prove yourselves to them and it's like if not they'll walk down the street and go to the next best show that's happening, it's like so I think that's where we were a bit like we're a bit extra nervous when we get there, but that was probably the highlight of the tour. So yeah,
Hmm.
we had a good time.
Okay, random question for you because this is a phenomenon that happens up here. We get a lot of artists that decide to, we've done our thing here. We're going to pack up and move to Melbourne. Do you guys in Adelaide scene have that too?
Yeah, I was because it's funny that you say Melbourne as well. I was like, I wonder if people in other states just go like, I'm going to go to Sydney or like I'm going to go to
No,
Brisbane.
it's
But it
Melbourne.
seems like everyone, it's Melbourne. It's always Melbourne. I
Yeah,
guess it is the music hub. Hey, like, and it's hard
but
to avoid that.
it's last time. Well, because I've toured there a few times, and you feel like you're someone special when you go down there as a musician. You go, yeah, you go into like a cafe, particularly in say like Fitzroy, right? So Fitzroy's got
Yeah,
like a lot of the bars and that there, and you go to like get a coffee during the day and you make a conversation. Oh, what do you do? I'm a musician, and basically everyone goes, yeah, so what? So we. There's just so many
yeah,
players you don't
yeah,
stand out there because every second person's a fucking artist of some kind.
yeah, yeah. Literally, it's pretty funny. It's like it's kind of like I went to America once, and when I was in LA, I noticed everyone that worked in every shop was like an actor, artist,
Yep.
musician, model, and like even so, like I'm super into comic books and stuff, right? And I was in the comic book stores. Even the freaking nerds working there had auditions that they had to get to. It didn't even make any sense to me. I'm like, literally everyone here is trying to make it. So I guess there's more of that in Melbourne as well. But look, I mean, it's some people love to be around that, and they're like, cool, everyone here is an artist, and it's like you can feed off that energy and then sometimes it can be a bit like competitive and a bit jading in that like yeah in that sense I guess.
Okay, so fellow comic book nerd too. All right, Marvel or DC?
Oh yeah. Oh look, like both but like at heart like probably started on DC.
Okay, so DC roster. Who would you rate? Who's your top tier?
Oh look, I like it's the lame one, man. I'm gonna say Batman, but um yeah, look, it's gotta be Batman. I do
Don't know if
also
you can
like
see that. What is it? You
oh
see,
I can't.
no. All right, there's a Batman tattoo there, but I also got an X-Men tattoo there.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Oh, the X-Men are great as well. That's the thing. They're one of my favorites from Marvel. But yeah, Batman is the goat.
I think it's just the writing, the writers behind Batman that they have on there, the Rogues Gallery. I mean,
Yeah,
Superman bores the shit out of me, to be honest with you, because
yeah,
he's perfect, and you don't want that.
yeah,
The Flash backstories are very interesting, and he's got a really interesting Rogues Gallery as well. But yeah, you're right. I mean,
yeah.
most of my comic like graphic novels, like the DC ones. From here, I can see him, and it's probably about 70% Batman.
Yeah, there's too many good ones, man. There's just like even if you're not a Batman fan and you're just into comics, so many people are gonna be like, you have to read this one Batman comic because it's just so good, like Killing Joke or something, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just one of those things. He's got so many good themes that writers can like really get into, and
Yep.
like obviously him just being a man, it's like they just really nail on the head with that character, man. It just really gave them lots to explore and like. But look, Flash is also cool. Lots of cool Flashes, lots of cool Green Lanterns as well.
Green Lantern, I do. Yeah. I don't really
Yep.
dive into Aquaman or anything like that. I just don't. I don't understand the lore.
Nah,
Same
same.
as Wonder Woman, so I don't sort of mess with that. But
Yeah.
all right. So sorry, we're getting off the music thing here, but um, you mentioned Killing Joke, but I would actually sort of say if anyone wanted to read a Batman comic book and didn't know anything about it, Hush would be the one to go for me.
Hush is sick. Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah, look, there's a lot of good picks. I mean, like, yeah, it just depends. That's the thing, because like Batman, there's a great range. You can really recommend so many options to so many different people depending on what they liked. I think another favorite is like Death in the Family is
Got
really
that?
good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Dark Knight Returns and
Oh yeah,
like all that
The
stuff.
Frank Miller run. Yeah, yeah, I'd rate that, but
Yeah,
I don't know. No, I think it's just too 80s for me now. Like I enjoyed it at the time, but it's yeah,
it's a bit edge like Frank Miller like being edgy as hell with Batman, but I guess like I'm here for the artwork in that comic really more than anything else. I just
yep.
dig it. It's pretty cool.
So how this relates to music? Batman's emo as fuck. There we go. That ties in.
Literally, yeah.
You need to write a song
He's
about
draped in
Batman, man.
black. That's it.
Yeah, tied in.
There's a riff on like one of the demos for this new album that's very Batman inspired.
Like Tim Burton Batman kind of like
Yeah, I
Danny
mean,
Elfman score kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, like, look, everything I do is trying to be Danny Elfman vaguely in some way as well. It's just really cool.
You
I was
saw
gonna say, actually, do you see a connection between Danny Elfman and the Matches? I keep hearing that.
yeah, the Oingo Boingo sort of stuff, or just yeah,
Yes.
I could see that. I can
Yeah.
see that. And
Yeah.
he played Sick. Was it Sick New World where it was like a couple of weeks ago?
I saw. Yeah, it looked crazy.
That would be next level. Just all of a sudden seeing like the theme to Batman sort of played in front of all these metalheads. It'd just be like,
Yeah.
yes, we've reached.
And Danny Elfman rips out his like hats and stuff.
I know
Crazy.
the dude's ripped.
It's mental. Hey,
I love it.
it's like no one knew, and everyone's like, "What the hell?" Like,
Yeah, well, everyone. If you think of a music composer, you don't think of someone like you think of someone like John Williams, right? Or you think of someone like Hans Zimmerman, like super sort of
yeah,
older gentlemen that are fairly sort of like geeky in a sense, right? And then
yes,
you get
yeah,
this weird new wave dude out of nowhere
yeah.
that's just creating some any like massive themes, like the theme for Batman, the Simpsons theme, any Tim
That's
Burton
it.
movie, basically.
Well, like it makes sense that I didn't know because like as a kid growing up, I only ever saw him in those clips where he's in an interview talking about his soundtrack and it's just his head and his like hands in like a shot like what I'm in right now.
Yeah.
So he's just like, yeah, and he's usually wearing like a black turtleneck and he's just like, yeah, I composed this stuff, blah blah blah. And then it's like, yeah, years later when he's playing in the band, you're like, oh,
Oh
he's been
shit.
cultivating this body underneath all of that.
Love it. All right, Jack. I'll wrap this up now because we can go
Easy.
fucking all night with talking this weird shit.
Exactly.
Well
Yeah.
done on not giving up. It's a great track from Wolf and Chain, man. I really do.
Thank you very
dig it.
much.
I'll put the links to the track and the music clip in the podcast when it goes live. Yeah, keen to hear this album when it's finally finished.
Hell yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you so much for
Just hang
plugging
on,
us. Yeah.
hang on the line there, and I'll have a quick debrief with you. Everyone else, bye.
Wait.
I really hope you enjoyed that one. And like I said, sorry for nerding out at the end there. But yeah, when you get two comic book nerds together, shit happens. Do check out Not Giving Up, the new single from Wolf and Chain, and have a look at the film clip. And if you have never seen Donnie Darko before, there's a movie for you to go and explore. More podcasts is coming down the line. I'm going to take a little break for a little bit because I'm celebrating 15 years of doing this, the whole thing, not the podcast, but the Point Music News. And yeah, I think I need a breather for a little bit. But go check out the other podcasts in the meantime. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting local music, live music, Australian music, all sorts of music, this kind of music, that kind of music. You guys are legends. Cheers.